Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Hi.
like I said.
Hi,
Hello,
good
hello,
evening.
hello, hello, hello. Okay, so welcome to, what should I call it, the show? Welcome to the show. Welcome to tonight's discussion, a conversation that we're having with Ekaete Bassey. We're talking about staying productive in these uncertain times, and I thought no better person than my sister, because she's the most efficacious person in the family, and she's had a lot of practice, in her work. So welcome, and can you just introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, thank you very much, Ime. I don't know why people think I'm an efiko, but well, I'll just take it as one of those things. My name is
It's a
Ekaete.
compliment. It's a compliment.
Yeah, Abby. My name is Ekaete Bassey Fuja. I'm an architect. I've been in practice now for maybe about 25 years. I'm currently the managing director of ATO Architects, a firm I joined in 1994. I've also worked in the US. I worked in the US for 8 years, where I became a lead accredited professional. I also became a Michigan licensed builder, a certified playground safety inspector, and what else? I've worked in architecture, project management, and construction management for all of these years. I'm also involved in work with a regulatory body. That's the body that regulates the practice and education of architects in Nigeria. I think that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, welcome.
Okay.
So Ekaete, as I said, is my older sister. Well, just older by a few months. I've obviously known her all my life, but why I wanted her to come and have this conversation with us was because how your work ethic, let me not say her work ethic, your work ethic, your you're a very organized, very productive person. You're very focused, in the way you work. And I mean, that really goes to even, show from what you just said about your achievements in work over the years. And another reason why was because at the beginning of the lockdown, I remember you said, this was in March or so, early when all these things started happening, your company was probably like very quick to adapt, so I thought, okay, let's talk about it. Should we talk about the tools, or should we just talk about the mindset or the culture? What was it that helped you to keep going and keep running, even when others were like saying, oh, let's wait and see what happens, let's wait and see what happens? Can you tell us how it went starting from then, and maybe we can just take it from there?
I think we were very fortunate. So we have been using Microsoft Office 365 for a few years. And in January, we had to do a project with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, incidentally. And the requirement for us was to use Microsoft Teams. So I was really the first person in the office, because I was the one handling the project directly. So I was in January having to use Microsoft Teams, and nobody asked me, can you use it? Nobody asked me all that question. They just said, here. Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that's why I said we were quite fortunate. So now, so by February, I was very familiar. Microsoft Teams is pretty easy to use. It's straightforward. And the great thing about Microsoft Teams is, you can store all your files, you can communicate within it, you can, work on your well, office documents within it and so on. And like I said, store your files for your various projects and then have various teams working on various teams in it. So I thought it was fantastic. Now, so come early March, we started hearing the noises by this time in Nigeria, we'd had our first few cases of COVID-19. So by mid-March, it was getting more and more obvious that a lockdown was pending, because around the world, people started lockdowns. So about maybe about 4 or 5 days before the official lockdown, we ourselves had decided to lock down. And so as the slave driver that I am, I insisted that everybody should learn how to use Microsoft Teams. I said this was the only way, we could survive. I mean, we'd been using we'd been using like Zoom and all of that on and off, but now it was like, like do this or die, so we got together, we had a meeting. I remember that day we had a meeting, all of us in the drawing office, agreed what files needed to go up in the cloud inside Microsoft Teams. So we did all of that over like 2 days. Everybody was forced to learn Microsoft Teams, and really there was nothing to it, And once we did that, we locked ourselves down. 3 days later, the government announced the official lockdown. So we were slightly ahead. Now we'd also decided that we would be having meetings, so we decided to decide, okay, what day are we going to have meetings? It became obvious that we had to provide laptops for some of our staff who did not have laptops, and it was a very interesting time because
because I'm thinking, you guys it's not like you are a law firm or something where all you do is deal with paper. You're talking about you're an architecture firm, and obviously you have your architects as well as all the other, different kinds of building and design, professionals and all that. So how did you manage to continue doing the work, even with the, with the lockdown? Were you still sending people to say, oh, go to this site, go to that site, or?
Well, we did have a few clients who insisted, in fact, one in particular insisted that we had to continue with their work, so we had to get special permissions. Our artisans had to have a special arrangement where they could sleep, and we had to make arrangements for their food and all of that. So we had that.
Okay, so how easy was it for everybody to adjust?
I think it was really. I remember the first few days. Somebody said, "Oh, that can't we just use WhatsApp for these meetings?" And I was like, "Hell no, we're not using WhatsApp. What we are dealing with cannot be dealt with WhatsApp. Let's just jump in the deep end." And I think it our insistence paid off. Our insistence really paid off. We've gone on to like wonder how we existed without Teams.
It's funny because even the Zoom in our church, we were using Zoom. We had been using Zoom for several months before the lockdown, for our prayer meetings in the morning and, and some other random things, but then all of a sudden now you find you have to use it for an actual church service, and who is going to sing and who is going to pray and where are we, those kind of things. And it forced people to, it forced us to really get, because I was heading the media team in church, it forced us to learn to do other things besides what we were even doing with Zoom. So it's exactly. I think some of those constraints actually make us now. So you were just telling me before we got on the call about your what was it that you were saying about the quality
Okay, so we have an ISO 9001 2015 certified quality management system. We became certified in we became certified in March last year. We'd actually had the audit in October of the year before, that's October 2018. So in March 2019, we became certified, and in October of the same year, we had our first external surveillance, what's called a surveillance audit. So they are required to come and audit you, make sure that you write your policies, you write your processes and all of that. They come to make sure that you're following those processes and you're following the standards. So this October, was supposed to be our second surveillance audit. It was pushed to November because of all of the stuff that has happened in Lagos and Nigeria in general. So we had that on Tuesday, where we had to do our surveillance audit, our second surveillance audit. And, if there was anything I was unprepared for, it was this surveillance audit, but I think that one of the things that has helped me, you said that I was an EFICO. One of the things that I always found difficult in the past was delegating, but I think with the quality management system, I think I'll say I'm doing a better job of delegating, and it's so important. When we started this journey with the QMS, I was the quality management representative, but now I have handed a lot of those responsibilities, I'll say almost 90% of the responsibilities to other people. And my focus is on strategy. Yeah. So, things like the nitty-gritty, the monitoring and tracking of all the things that we have to monitor and track. So for example, with the quality management system, you have to think, for example, what are the threats, to your business, what are the opportunities, what are the weaknesses, and those are the things, when you document and track, that help you to be able to really tackle any challenges that come, and that helped us. So in the midst of this time, where we were equipping our staff to be able to work in this period, we had already identified what the possible challenges will be. Okay, so you have people working from their houses with all of your important information. How do you deal with that? How do you safeguard your information and all of that? So when you start to document all of those things, then you are better prepared, and you put in place policies and processes to make sure that you address any weaknesses and any problems that may arise. So in this period, we documented, for example, a remote working policy, which we did not have before. And so we also documented a policy about how people take care of our equipment and our information, what they can divulge, what they cannot divulge, etc., etc. And it was important to put all of this in place. A quality management system can be cumbersome sometimes, but I think this was extremely useful for us for this period.
I like what you said earlier about when we were talking before we got on, about being agile. Being agile at this time, because this putting this quality management system. What did you call it? Quality management system.
Yes, quality management system. Yes.
Putting that in place doesn't sound like fun. It doesn't sound like it's it sounds like kind of thing that you might just say, let's just do it next week, or let's do it next year, or whatever, but it's almost like you have to, but it's almost like if you just get this sorted, then it will make life easier in the long run. you know.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you bet that we've had a lot of resistance, you know. So because it's a change management system, you know, so you know, it's like there is always so much resistance. But you know, once you understand that the resistance is normal, you know, then you continue to find ways of hammering what needs to be done. Things as simple as, well, simple in quotes, things as simple as, you know, this is our file naming convention, for example. You know, what does that do for you? When you have a file naming convention that is logical, then one, it's easier to find documents, you know, it's easier to track documents, you know, things like that, you know. And that's just one of
Because
several
yeah,
things.
me, I don't have a file naming convention. If I'm
Okay.
naming a file now, or if I'm okay, like if I'm naming the file of this our call now, I'll probably say conversation with Ekaete Fuja, MD, ATO, on the day that we, some, you know, I can name it anything I like, you know.
A personal convention for me, for most of my files, I name them starting with the date. So this file will be, you know, and my date convention is 2020, and then the month 11, and then the day 26, you know. So that's how I name my files, and then, you know, write whatever I like after. You know, what that does for me is that it arranges my files in the order they were created. Yeah. Yeah. So it made, because, you know, I mean, if I think of all the files and all that I've generated in my lifetime, you know, it's too much.
Yeah,
It's too
yeah,
much.
yeah. But I mean, like, okay, so now we're talking. You're here talking to us at the Yellow Pepper Club, and most of us are like in the online business space, you know. So, but then we're hoping to build a business online, and a big part of it is delegating, outsourcing work. You know, when you're growing, you know, you start delegating work, outsourcing work, getting organized, and organizing yourself and managing yourself as well. You know, so what would you say, what tips can you give us about, you know, managing yourself, and then also about delegating, you know, letting go of some things and delegating work to other people?
I think I'm the wrong person to talk about delegating, you know, because because you know, as you know, my patience threshold is quite low, but I think I'm improving. The honest truth for me, you know, I have gone around and tried all kinds of
With shortcut, no, no, no. I think
time management, activity management tools. You know, I've
you're
tried, I've tried everything.
do everything yourself.
Exactly. You know, I've tried everything. So at the end of the day, you know, there's something that always works, which is a good old list. You know, whether it's a list on a spreadsheet or a list on you know, written by hand in a journal or something. You know, I always say that one of Microsoft's best kept secrets is Microsoft OneNote, you know, because then you can organize yourself across your different devices, and you can create lists and do all kinds of things. But there are so many tools out there.
Yeah,
There are
and
so
there's
many
one,
tools out
actually,
there.
enough, the tool that I use now the most and I've stuck to is called Workflowy, and it's just lists, you know, lists, and then lists inside the lists, you know, and then you can then collapse everything, and then you have like 3 4 major topics, and then under that you have lists, you know. So it's really yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's really,
I think I tried that one. It didn't, I don't know what happened, but maybe it didn't register me properly because I didn't get round to being able to use it. But I will try it again.
yeah, yeah.
You know, but
Workflowy.com. What
yeah,
there's all, like you said, there's many
so
other,
many.
there's
So
the
I have a goals wizard. I have things, THINGS,
Yeah, I've
things.
heard of things.
Yeah, things is supposed to be quite good, but sometimes you just abandon some stuff. Then good old reminder, if you use Apple, the good old reminder has a reminder. Yeah, you can use, because you can create lists and different groups of lists and all of that.
I've never used reminder that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and I think they even improved it the last time or so. So but I one thing that I'll have to say is the less complicated the better. you know
Good old
e-
notebook, pen and paper.
exactly.
Pen and paper.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go back to let's go to something else. Um, you were not very recently, but you were recently made the MD of
Yes.
your company that you had worked in forever.
Yeah.
How was the transition for you? So you worked in ATO since
1994.
94.
Yeah. So
Um,
I worked there from 1994. In 2004, I moved to the US, as you know, and then came back in 2012 and, continued working and
mm,
became the managing director in 2019, 1st of November 2019, so,
okay,
so just about
okay,
a year ago.
okay.
Um,
So what's it been like? Was it any different, or that you were still going to work and it was the same thing, or were there any changes that you had to make, both physically and mentally, and what was that like?
I think that I won't say I was really prepared for the role. However, um, I had been in a management role, a senior management role for a long time,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So and at various times I've more or less run the office when ATO, who is now chairman, was not around, so I mean, a lot of responsibility was placed on me, the accounts, the whole QMS, the whole management system. I was in charge of the drawing office, so I've been in, the management position for a while. So what I would say was a bit of a transition was even just getting used to the title, you know.
Mm,
Yeah. um because I won't I'll say I'm not, when they like they're calling me like MD, I'm like, you will please, I'm not really used to the title, but for the work, I'm constantly thinking. I think I frustrate the staff a bit because for me there's always a better way to do something, so while they're still trying to grapple with something, I say,
execution
oh,
one.
I have another idea,
Uh,
so I think that's a bit frustrating for them.
okay, okay. So but then that comes back to strategy, I guess, and all the vision. What do you think is the secret to success of your company, not the ATO, the
Hmm.
organization of ATO? What do you think is the secret of the success of that organization? How has it worked? So because it's actually you guys have been around forever,
30 years.
yeah,
30 years.
for years and years, and with all the different changes and everything. What would you think, if you could say in 2 or 3 words, what would you think is the secret of the success, or why has it survived all these years?
Number one, or one of the most important things, is that we've always leveraged on technology. you know
Mm,
yeah, we've always. So when I joined the firm in 1994, I was already using a computer where I was coming from, and most people were still using drawing boards. And not only was I using a computer, I was already drawing in 3 dimension. So when I came in,
I'll
yeah,
tell you something. I had a conversation with Tula. I wonder whether she's listening now. And she was saying she's an architect as well. And she was saying that one day they just got to the office where they were working, and their Oga had taken away all the drawing boards.
That's what had to happen.
Because it was so hard for them to transition from, doing a drawing board and, to computers and AutoCAD, and they had to, they were learning it, but then when they now get stuck, they go back to the drawing board. So one day they got to work and there was no drawing board.
ATO had to do, because from where I came, I had abandoned the drawing board, so when I got there, the last surviving drawing board was pushed into the store, and the owner came and, well, they had to just get.
Is that how you go and work in the store, or that's true, because I remember seeing drawing boards in your office when you were in, what's the name of that place? Martin Street.
30 Marina.
Marina, I saw one or two drawing boards there still. Oh wow. So you leverage technology. That's one.
Yes, we've leveraged technology, very importantly. We also, you always try to employ the best people that you can, but more importantly, you have to keep upskilling the people that you employ, and you yourself, we in management also take our own training and personal development very seriously, because there's always a danger when you are relying on younger people to do all of the real technical work. A lot gets lost, so you yourself have to be technically savvy and technologically savvy, and able to do, the work if you have to do it.
That's interesting. Okay, so I think final question. So you were talking to me also about, again, having to adjust, because now that the lockdown is over, but they are trying to have a hybrid and transition to, so how is that working out, from fully working at home?
Because so in the last few months, we've had quite a few problems in Nigeria and in Lagos. So, and we thank God that the pandemic has not been as bad as it has been in the West. So we've had the pandemic to grapple with. Then we had the NSAS protest, which turned into something else, was hijacked and turned into something else. So that brought on additional problems. Then the price of fuel was hiked up, the price of electricity was hiked up, and of course, you may or may not know that we went into a recession this past week.
Wow.
So it's like when this happened, in fact, when I heard Maradona died yesterday or so, I was like, okay, what more can happen in 2020? But I think that for me, passing our external surveillance audit was very refreshing for me, because
it's almost like a validation to say,
exactly, exactly, a validation for, feeling that, we must be doing something right, but there was something you said earlier, about, how do I stay productive and all of that. I think one of my problems is that I'm never satisfied with where I am. I guess, if you are to succeed, you can never really be satisfied with where you are. You have to be comfortable with where you are, but you also have to see where you are as the launching pad, the springboard for getting out of that comfort zone. So yeah.
So always learning, leverage technology.
Always learning, yes, always learning.
And for what you said earlier, it starts with the vision. If you have from the vision, everything, everything comes from the vision.
I think the challenge, because I mean, in our profession, in the construction industry, collaboration and teamwork are critical. So yeah, they're very critical. So at ATO Architects, we've always worked in a large open office. The drawing office has always been a large open office because the collaboration is very critical for our delivery, for working, for our exchange of ideas and all of that, So we learn from each other, and and that's the way that younger people are able to like grow and understand how to run projects, how to run contracts, and so on. So that teamwork and collaboration are also, I'll say, one of the, it's not really a secret, it's critical to success in the profession in which we find ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have some people that, not even some people, probably have one person that I talk to like every day. When we don't work, she doesn't work for me, I don't work for her, we don't work together on the same projects, but it's just that having, somebody to bounce ideas off, or to say, oh, this is what I did today, or this is what I achieved today, or this is what I'm thinking of doing, or that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, if I didn't have that kind of relationship where I had somebody I could, I would say yes, she's actually on my team, I would say she's on my team. If I need help with something, she will be there,
You're sounding bored.
Eh? I'm sounding bored.
I said you're sounding bored. You're sounding bored, yeah. No, I said you're sounding bored. You're sounding bored. Yeah.
I thought I said I am sounding as if I'm bored. No, yes, she's my sound. Yeah, she's my sounding board, and I'm her sounding board as well. And even celebrating those wins, or or sharing, everything, the fears, the wins, the tools, the tactics. So I'm thinking of buying this tool. I'm thinking of using this tool. Have you tried this one? Oh, see this other website. They're doing something that we were talking about the other day. Blah blah blah. And we just have that ongoing conversation. Every day.
Yeah, it's important. Every year we have an annual lecture. So this year we have our eighth annual lecture, and this year we are going to be talking about collaboration. Because it reminds me, several years ago I read an article in the Architects Record, which is the magazine of the American Institute of Architects, and the article was titled "Collaborate or Die." And that title has stayed with me for a very long time. Stayed with me forever. It's very important. Like you said, even if you're not working in the same space, just having somebody who is your accountability partner, if you like.
Exactly. I mean, that's really what even the Yellow Pepper Club, that's what it's about. Nobody's working on the same thing. We're not working together. They're not working for me. I'm not working for them, but we're just kind of like each working on their own, but we have that, check-in with each other, what are you up to? Are you ready? What's going on? That kind of thing. Are you struggling? Are you winning? That kind of thing. It's really, really helpful. It's really, really helpful. Oh, thank you. So any final words of wisdom for us young?
I don't know.
In the world.
Well, I mean, I don't know about final words of wisdom. I'll just state the obvious. When people ask, about success and being successful and all of that, I think, you succeed the most when you are yourself, when you are doing things that you're that come natural to you. That's when you start to succeed. Unfortunately, in this environment, success is equated with money, and flashy stuff and all of that, but when you get to a certain age, you know better. because success is about impact. Success is absolutely about impact, and so one of the things that has become very important to me, and which I'm trying to drag our organization into also kicking and screaming whether they like it or not, is we need to make impact in areas like social housing, in housing for people who cannot afford housing, things like that. I mean, how else because there is always a tendency to only design for people who can afford your work. And so I believe strongly that you can succeed even if you design for people who cannot afford the work that you do, and that kind of work is probably going to be your most important work.
Okay, I think that is actually a conversation for another time. I'm not saying that to end the conversation, but actually it's actually a conversation that I think should be had, and should be had on a really, really getting minds together for it. Funny enough, I had I heard something yesterday, and I was telling this my friend, her name is DK. I was telling DK, I was like, I heard that this guy said that I work with people that I like to help people. That's what she said. He said, I like to help people. I like to make a difference in the lives of underprivileged people. I like to help the less privileged or the underprivileged, but they are not my customers. So I have to, so instead of saying, I'm going to charge very little for what I'm doing so that the less privileged can afford to hire me, let me instead work with people who can afford to hire me, and then use the money to help the less privileged. So that was the general idea. So I think that's one thing what you need to look at, with the social housing thing. You just get the right people on board to do that, and then it sounds like in fact it's a fantastic idea. It's a fantastic idea. And I think it's one that if it's done, and it's done in a way that others can model, then that would be the, like you said, your most important work. If you can just build that bubble and just say, okay, I'm going to build 7 houses just to show you what it looks like. And exactly, and then other people would now say, oh, I can take this and transplant it. I can take this and transplant it here. That would be fantastic.
And for me, it ties into our vision and our mission, which basically speak to helping people to accomplish their endeavors. Creating spaces where people can accomplish their endeavors. So that is everybody. That is everybody.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Ekaete. Thank you. That was good. That was really, really good. I enjoyed that conversation, and hopefully we'll have you back one day soon. So tell the people, now that you're out here, tell the people about your hobbies.
And my hobbies. Oh, yes. Okay.
Well, let me tell them. One is cycling, the other one is writing. Oh, yes, talk.
Well, that's it. You said it. Okay, third one is actually roller skating. I love roller skating. I love.
Still do.
Oh yeah. We found a skating rink near us. So when the kids are home, we go out to roller skate every once in a while. And I haven't broken anything.
Oh, lucky you. Okay, funny enough, I saw some people, like 2 or 3, including one man who is a pastor, a bishop, who roller skates. I saw on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I wish. Yeah, I would love to pick that up again. Yeah.
And then of course the cycling. Like I remember mommy came to visit us in Detroit. and there was a bicycle there, and she was like, "What is it with you and bicycles?" You know. So like, I mean,
No, cycling is now sexy in Nigeria, but you were cycling before it was
it was
sexy.
fashionable. Yeah,
Yeah, it was fashionable.
I remember one day I cycled to work. I don't know what possessed me, but I cycled across the Third Mainland Bridge, which,
That's
as
from
you know,
Yaba.
yeah. So that must have been maybe a distance of about 20 kilometers there, and then promptly abandoned the bicycle in the office, and hitched a ride home.
Oh, you were not going to say, why didn't you cycle home? But now 20 kilometers is nothing to you.
It's nothing, exactly. And I remember one of my colleagues' wife said, "Ekaete, was that you that I saw?" Because she wasn't like in a car. And I felt like one of the children, one of the Von Trapp children that was in a tree.
Climbing the tree when they were passing, like, was it by any chance have my children been climbing trees today?
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so yeah. So I'm lucky. I have a club I cycle with. And now we say, there's always somebody cycling almost every day. Though there've been security issues, but we still do. We have our safety in numbers. Then of course there's writing. The great thing with writing, of course, is that it's part of your everyday. It's part of my everyday. I have something I have to write every day. Yes. I have something. I have some report or something that I have to write every day.
Okay.
And it comes easily to me. So and that's one of the things that I don't delegate so easily. But it is what it is.
I think everybody should have well, in our world, in this online world, everybody has to have some kind of writing habit. You have to, because there's a lot of writing, and it actually gives, there's an advantage if you are open to being, to writing, so much. I mean, there's copywriting, writing your website, writing your captions, writing your emails, the things that you use to run your business. There's a lot of writing inside. So either you source it or pick it up and find your voice.
Yeah.
So when are we going to see your
novel? Everything now. Sorry?
When are we going to see your novel?
One day soon.
This is now just going to say, this is November. Was there no
timeline? I have to reboot. I was just about to say, to what you said. Everything is really about content creation, and one of the things we've had to do, with our quality management system, is we've had to create short videos, for example, to show people, usually show people, okay, this is how you name a file, and this is the logic behind it, and all of that. Our mission and our vision, we created a video and all of that. So you have to keep doing things like, and that's where, like you said, writing comes in very handy, and all of that. Everything can become like a like a movie.
It sometimes it's easier. It's like, oh, okay, when you go here, click there, then you open this page, do that, and then you've got the instructions, and nobody is frustrated, But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and if you use like if you use an Apple, you have a quick time, you can record your screen if you are training with it and all of that. I think of the $99 I spent on the app called ScreenFlow, which does the same thing.
I use it as well, thanks to you.
Yeah.
Yes, I use it a lot anyway. I do use it a lot.
Okay, the ScreenFlow.
I use it a lot. Even Scrivener, I use a lot as well.
Oh yes, Scrivener is my ride or die. Yeah. I found that I can do so much with Scrivener. Scrivener for me is more like an organizer for me.
Yeah.
than anything
Mhm.
else. You know, I use it
I
to
found even there's a course I'm working on, you know, and I'm creating it inside Scrivener. There's also a script I'm writing for a video, script for a sales video, and also teaching the people, the members of the club, how to do the sales video scripts, you know, and I'm doing mine in Scrivener. So you just put the heading and, you know, you just put the heading for each one and you know, eventually you put everything together and there you have your script. Yeah, just makes
I
sense.
mean, like blog posts, yeah, that's what makes sense. You know, blog posts. I do the newsletter for my cycling club. You know, I use Scrivener for that as well. To I use Scrivener to lay out the content for each quarter. You know, because I actually do. Yeah, I actually do the newsletter in InDesign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen my copy of it.
Because there's so many pictures.
Yeah. The cycling club is called Psychology, in case you are interested.
Yep.
Psychology. Yeah.
Yep.
And I know you to be obsessed with cycling. And I'm like, the last time you were in London, I was like, now wow, all your mates are going to go and buy a bag and shoe. You are going to buy bicycle helmet and and what is it? Something mirror and you know.
Yeah, but maybe by now the bag and shoe would have torn. The bag would have been torn. The shoe would have been torn.
But the bicycle
will give you years of joy.
To each his own, I guess. To each his own. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was good being here.
All right then. So we will see you soon. I would have said, how should people find you? Oh yes, how can people find you? Your blog. You have a blog.
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Okay. Yeah. I'll put the link in the description. Yeah, she has have a couple of articles on sustainable building and some
building better buildings. You know, so the focus of one of my blogs is building better buildings. You know, which deals with the common problems with building here in Nigeria. You know.
Before we go, you see, I told you, we said 30 minutes is almost an hour. Before we go, quickly tell the story of the that Igbo one where somebody can reach through somebody's window and borrow pomade from.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, you know, so that article was about setbacks, you know, and we're having that problem again in Lagos. We're having that problem.
Not setbacks like we know setbacks in English. Setback.
Okay, so a setback. So with building construction, starting with, you know, in 1666, we had the Great Fire of London, but you know, it wasn't the only one. There was also a Great Fire in Chicago.
Yeah, and some other cities as well.
Yes, exactly. And so what those fires did was to make the cities, you know, look at their laws again, look at the way they built, look at how close their buildings were to each other, look at how close their buildings were to the street. Now, a setback is the distance between
the buildings were too close to the streets as well as too close to each other.
They were too close to each other. Yeah, they were too close to each other. And but when we talk of a setback, we are also talking about the distance between the building and the street. You know, because that setback in front allows the city to have what is called like a right of way where they can run drainage, run power, and water supply and all of that. That's what a setback in front is for. Now, setbacks between buildings on the sides and on the rear are to allow airspace, you know. But what's happened in Onitsha years ago, or, you know, which still happens now, is that they build with, you know, buildings so close to each other, you know, that you can really truly reach your hand into the window or the person next to you. And of course, what happens if one building falls or catches on fire and all of that? Well, everybody around is in trouble, you know. So you'll see in Lagos now, we're starting to have that problem again, where people are not obeying the laws, because there are laws and regulations for setback, but they're not obeying them. So you're seeing buildings built so close and all of that, you know. In fact, there's one I pass every day. They've moved, they created a first floor over what should have been a gatehouse, and it's right on top of the fence, just so that they can sell their bread and all of that, you know. And then the city had actually come and marked a red X on their gate. They just carried the gate, unhinged it, and turned it the other way around. You know, so I don't know who is going to be the next brave person to report.
So those are the kind of things that you write about in your you know, just kind of like informing, educating people on, and then just a bit of an entertainment as well, you know. But so is it ignorance? So ignorance, or just, you know?
Well, it's a combination of ignorance, greed, corruption. It's many things. You know, it's many things. My other blog is called Tory Fusion, and what I found, you know, how that one came about, you know, that's a purely a pure fiction blog. I have so many ideas about stories, and you know, in my delusional mind, I was thinking each one was going to become a book. And I was like, one day I asked myself, and I think it was one day this year, I asked myself, how many lives do I have? You know, where I think that every single one of this is going to become a book. So I decided to start instead writing short stories.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing with that, so that I don't want any idea to be lost, you know. So I'm writing a series of short stories, you know, and I'm going to, you know, be publishing them on that blog, you know, and then maybe one day, you know, I'll have a book.
Yeah, one day you can put it together in a book. Okay, so you will share your link. In fact, if you can share with me as soon as possible, as soon as we finish this call, I will just put it in the description as well. Thank you so much for coming, and I think it's good night. Let me just say good night to Facebook.
Yeah, good night. Good night. Talk soon. Say hello to the boys.